Uhuru, brothers and sisters and comrades, I want to welcome you to Uhuru Congo. Uhuru Congo is a YouTube channel that was created by the African People's Socialist Party, known internationally as the Communist International. I am the chairman of the African Socialist International. I want to welcome you, and also I want to acknowledge my co-host, actually the leader of this discussion, Comrade Luwezi Kinshasa, who is the Secretary General of the African Socialist International, and who, while he is currently living in London, England, and organizes throughout Europe, is also was also born in Congo, and has been involved in the struggle of our people in Congo for some time now, working diligently, day in, day out, to unite the struggle of our people in Congo with the struggle of African people worldwide. We have created the Uhuru Congo YouTube channel because we are extremely excited by the struggles of our people right now in Congo, and excited by also the knowledge that while it is an extraordinarily important struggle in the heart of Africa, if you will, where so many of the resources of our people are located, our people in Congo are experiencing a kind of isolation and only right now see primarily as people responding to our situation in Congo as those Africans who were born in Congo, who are now part of what is commonly called a diaspora from the Congo. And we see so much in the news, bourgeois ruling class, colonial media, imperialist media, that tells us something, gives us some hint, some suggestion of urgency of the struggles of peoples in various other places. Occasionally we'll hear a little about Yemen and the murderous campaign initiated by the US government through the Saudi regime there. Occasionally we will hear something about the brutality imposed on the Palestinian people by the reactionary white nationalist military outpost, settler colony called Israel. We see the terror being waged against the people in Venezuela, where people are pushed into forced starvation, and the United States government has even shut down the power system in order to create the conditions for overthrowing that government. But we see little or nothing about what's happening in Congo and much of Africa. So to remedy that, as a part of the remedies, to take that on, and certainly to inform African people worldwide about what is happening in Congo, to undermine the sense of isolation that our people in Congo may be experiencing at any moment, and to put the African revolution firmly down on the ground in Congo as a part of the overall African revolution. We decided to do Uhuru Congo, and I want to go ahead now and turn this over to Comrade Luwezi Kinshasa, who is the Secretary General, and we will shortly thereafter look at a video that Comrade Luwezi has provided that gives us some suggestion of how our people are living day to day in the Congo at this moment. Uhuru, Comrade Luwezi.
Yes, Uhuru, Chairman. Thank you for the overview. Just a couple of things. Since the 5th of the election by the alliance between Felix Tshisekedi, who is now the president nominated by Joseph Kabila, they have not been able to quiet the masses, and that's a problem because Fayulu, who won the election, continued to campaign, and he has toured many cities in the Congo very successfully, and now he's in Europe, where masses are following him from the airport to wherever he's going. So this definitely is a problem, is a crisis for imperialism. War factions, colonialism should be there, but it consolidates, validates the necessity for us to do revolutionary work wherever we are, so that the only option that is open to the masses is a revolutionary solution, and that's basically one area this program we're doing also is going to contribute. So they have a priority solution, they have a physical solution, which are neocolonial solution, and we have the African solution, the revolutionary solution now that definitely puts everything in perspective of United States of Africa under the leadership of the African working class. And I think that's where we need to.
Uhuru.
Yes, sir.
So let's look at this, this video. It's a brief video, but it shows something of the day-to-day life of our people in Congo right now. And this is subsequent, this is something, of course, that we're looking at subsequent to the election that just occurred in Congo that contributed to deepening the crisis that's being experienced there.
Save us from accidents, engine failure, illness, and death. This might look like a mass exodus of refugees, but in fact it's part of a regular ferry service between the villages along the River Congo. The commander is a real operator. He handles it all very well. There's everything on the boat: life, births. In the Congo, we all help each other. Where there's misery, you'll find your family. And on the boat, there are accidents and death. Anyone who slips overboard will be chopped up into little pieces by the propellers. Instant death. 2,000 passengers are jammed, one on top of the other, for the 2-week-long journey. I have nothing. I have no more food. All I have is the river water. I'm fed up. If it was up to me, I'd get off and head back the way I came. Along the banks of the Congo, the Waganya fishermen risk their lives daily for the sake of a few fish. God bless the river, which feeds us and allows us to survive. The River Congo is sacred. For a man to have the force, he needs to prove himself in the Kabobo ceremony. A plane ticket costs 6 months' salary. So ever since the land route became impassable, the River Congo has become the main thoroughfare between Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Kisangani, the country's 3rd largest city. Journeys from another age that meander 1,700 kilometers through the heart of Africa. To all appearances, this is a junkyard, but it is, in fact, the port of Kinshasa, one of the biggest cities in Africa. Rice, palm oil, spices, all is transported by human labor since the cranes have long since stopped working. Amidst the tangle of boats is the Bemani, a freighter that also takes on passengers for whom there are no cabins on board. The journey means finding a place where you can, on the bridge. Everyone makes do, and the Bemani soon resembles a floating slum. There are 800 on board. People off to visit their relatives, attend a marriage or a funeral. Others dream of making their fortune and are heading for the diamond mines on the other side of the country. But the notion of time in the Congo is like nowhere else. These passengers have been waiting in the scorching sun for almost a month on board ship for its departure. Tired, nerves frayed, every day brings the hope the boat might leave. And every day, Prosper, the ship's owner, dashes those hopes. He's scared the passengers might finally snap. Listen, by the grace of God, we can finally head off this evening. You don't think I'd just leave you all in this fix? You may be able to sleep at night, but I can't. I've even lost 10 kilos. Prosper is running out of it.
All right, so we get a sense of how our people in Congo forced to exist under neo-colonialism. We're talking about a situation where an election was held recently. I think that election was December 30th, 31st, 30th, and a huge dispute stemming from the outcome of that election, where it was obviously rigged by the president Kabila, who has been a loyal servant to imperialism, despite the fact that he works to serve his own interests, and this has represented a kind of contradiction from time to time. And the fact, despite the fact that the partnership that he had, his father had established with the leaders of Uganda and Rwanda has been frayed from time to time. And now there's the issue of Kabila, whether Kabila is going to be able to maintain influence and power despite the contention with other sectors of the African petty bourgeoisie. And we remind ourselves as Africans that, African internationalists, that when we're looking at with the elections in Congo is a neo-colonial project, the imperialist project, that the election, the last legitimate election, if we want to characterize it like that, that happened in Congo was the election that was won by Patrice Lumumba, who went to power in 1960, I think it was. And despite all of the efforts by the Belgians to rig the election so that a neo-colonial puppet would come to power, Lumumba won the election and attempted to move the Congo, people in Congo, with the African Revolution in a fashion that would bring power to the people over and control of our resources and our lands and things like that. And of course, because of that, the Belgians, the US, the French intelligence organizations all combined to overthrow and working with neo-colonial puppets right there in Congo. They murdered, literally butchered Lumumba, and we have been left with the consequences up to now. So when we look at elections happening now, we're looking at elections that come about as a consequence of the imperialist success in getting rid of any genuine representation of our people in Congo that was seen in the form of Patrice Lumumba and the work that he was doing. And now this process that opens up the ability of different neo-colonial representatives to contend for political power. And what we're looking at is a dispute that exists between them, between the neo-colonial forces for control of the state apparatus to their own benefit. And, but we saw how the people in Congo are living in general, but that's not how the petty bourgeoisie is living. So, Comrade Luwezi, you were going to talk to us about Kabila and how well he's doing, etc.
Yes. Basically, when you just look at those African people on the boat, and you can just imagine at night, you know, just a number of accidents, because there are always accidents on those boats. They are overloaded, as you saw, and these are obsolete boats that shouldn't be there. You know, rusty, old, no maintenance, no respect of the essential rules of safety, things like that. So drama takes place over the time, particularly at night, with boats devoid for any lighting, and we go, you know, not always about pilots. We cannot read the markings where they are, and then they get too close to the shore or to the rocks, things like that. And I have a list of accidents every year. You know, you've got ship wrecking or ship running aground. All these things happen every year, sometimes more than once in a month. Like 2018, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4 accidents on the Congo River. February 2018, May 2018, February, in fact, there were 2, and May, another one. And the number of people there just a lot. So this is one aspect of it, and you should see the condition of traveling for the upper class, for actually pretty bourgeoisie. That's a different story. And they have private jets, private boats, and things like that. And looking at the elections itself, it's really clearly understood by the vast majority of the people that Tshisekedi is not the president. That's really is quite it's well understood. And what is also people also, in fact, the question is at the moment for ethnic bourgeoisie is the distribution of the jobs on the Tshisekedi and Kabila side. And Kabila wants to be prime minister. That's what some people say. And they stand for March. So the government, Tshisekedi allegedly won. And that was in January, I think. It was sworn in on the 24th of January. So up to now, they have not announced what the government will be. And people don't want to hear Kabila prime minister. So they trying to work out how they're going to do it. So that's one side of the contradiction that they have to handle for themselves. The other side of the contradiction is that Fayoulou represents another solution for imperialism, and he's playing his job very well. He's to win the masses over him as the legitimate president, and all the opportunists in the Congo or outside, like Belgium, France, where you see a lot of people from Congo, all the opportunists who are embracing Fayoulou, exposing themselves. But it's really time for us basically to bring African internationalism into the equation, into the mix in a big way, because people are really clear that whoever is in power, they don't represent the masses, they are illegitimate. People are clear on that, about where to go next. And some people they're thinking that, okay, they should go with Fayoulou because he won the election, and we have to go in. Neither of them will do anything for the people because imperialism will always be there. We need African solution, and we need revolution. We need the party to be on the ground, but to win Africans outside, because this way they're campaigning very hard. You should see Fayoulou, maybe next program we're going to show that campaigning in Europe, winning, because here they know it's the workers. Most of us here clearly in our mind we are workers. Over 90% of the people from Congo are in Europe. So we should have a working class solution, not the ethnically bourgeoisie solution. So that's basically where we are. And I welcome so much this program because it contributes to that, to mobilize, win more people to African internationalism as the way forward.
But we see, Comrade Luwezi, looking at the conditions of our people in Congo, most of whom are workers, and who are just doing everything we can, coming up with ingenious ways to try to stay alive, to try to eat, feed, and grow their families in very desperate situations. But Congo, which has a budget that stands at between $4 and $5 billion only, and we see Kabila gets a pension of what, $250,000?
Yes. I've been looking for information to get some clarification. If it's a year, even it's a year, it is unacceptable, or is a month, or per month. Because I've listened to some news, they're saying that per month. Some people say that's per year. In either case, it's not acceptable, and this man should be in jail. You know, he should not have access to it. I mean, the African people really has no sense of embarrassment. They don't see embarrassment. You know, they don't really say it. It doesn't exist in the brain. So we really have to, and this part of the fundamental question of democracy as a form of the state. That is must be a mastermind that we need to have the African people bourgeoisie on trial. Everybody who is responsible for crimes, economic crimes, blood crimes, they have to pay for that. And that has to be part of the democratic demand of the massive movement. We need to build a new state, and that state must take Kabila to court. That's unbelievable. And we're not even talking about the other money he embezzled, him and his family. You know, we have seen many articles on that. It is unbelievable to come now to request to repay $680,000 just between January and March, where everybody lives on less than $1 a day. It's not acceptable. You know, it's just a crime against humanity. It is a crime against the people. And that's a criticism of all the leadership of African people too. Nobody is saying anything about it. You know?
Well, there's a
people just have people.
Well,
yeah, finish him.
Yeah, we've talked about, you know, a time when, you know, we use the arm of criticism. That's what's happening, you know, right now. And the masses are using the arm of criticism to talk about Kabila, and to some extent capable of struggling against all the contradictions in Congo. But the thing that's going to make the difference in the ability to put Kabila and his cohorts in jail is going to be the criticism by arms. And these forces are going to have to be overthrown. The people are going to have to win power, and the party is an absolute necessity to win political power, to actually take power, to seize power, and then once we seize it, the people have to wield power. Do that, they have to have their own revolutionary organization. And that's what the African People's Socialist Party is all about. It's not just about discussing and analyzing how difficult things are, but it's a part of the process that we have initiated to actually put the party down on the ground in Congo with the objective of actually taking and winning power, so that these creatures that have been imposed on us by imperialist white power can be brought to task, that we can actually be able to arrest them, put them on the docks and what have you, and the people have an opportunity to try them for their collaboration with all imperialism that's bleeding us and starving our people, and responsible for us being on those unsafe boats, overloaded boats on Congo River, where sometimes we become meals of hungry crocodiles as opposed to being able to secure our own way of existing. I know that there's another video that we wanted to be able to show also, and this is of Lambert Mende Omalanga, who in the Lumumba's hometown region, I guess, ran into opposition by the workers there. Can we show that, and then we can talk, and Comrade Luwezi, you can enlighten us after looking at this video, Uhuru. Uhuru, tell us what we just watched, Comrade Luwezi. Uhuru, Luwezi?
Yes, sorry. This was a march. That's the poor people. These in the province. This where most of the African people receive. Doesn't want to be. Doesn't want to spend too much time there because the facilities are terrible. So these are the poor people who are opposed to Lambert, mainly Omalanga. Mainly, is not just anybody. He is the spokesperson, the chief spokesperson of Joseph Kabila. And he is a liar like we ever seen in the Congo. Everything he says is a liar. And he lies by the second. The people, they call him the national pirate because the job is to lie on behalf of Kabila. It's incredible. And he comes and he says he's a Lumumbis. This is insults, I mean, it is such slander of highest magnitude. So everything he says, as he attacks the people, and he says, as Lumumbis, that's what we should do. You know, and when in reality, it's the complete opposite. This guy was a Mobutus, and before, becoming a Kabilist. So he wants to be a governor in that region because he's already under Kabila's government a minister for communication. He's also a national deputy, and we know they stole the election. This guy can't be a national deputy. He's hated everywhere in the Congo. So the mass is saying, you can't be the governor here. If you're going to be a governor, you're going to be on that dead body. And that was the courageous thing to do. Because this is the region where between 2017 and 2018, 5,000 people have been killed at least, under the pretext of fighting communal cycle phenomenon. So the people saying we oppose mainly, and they did the banner and they demonstrated, and it is the courage, a reminiscence of Lumumba himself, because Lumumba is from there. So I'm sure they have in mind that in the land of Lumumba, we cannot accept this guy to be our governor. Of course, for Mali to be governor is not just a local phenomenon, it's a national phenomenon. They have the control of the state. So what they do, they lay siege to the city. They assassinate people. In fact, I always got a report, 4 people being killed already, and that's Mendes' response to the resistance of the people. And as I said, when people see that people want to fight, don't want to go forward, is the absence of a revolutionary party since the overthrow of Lumumba himself. That has been a serious problem for the struggle for African liberation to go forward. And, that's basically what we saw.
So, yeah, we're still, confronted with the big problem is that the people don't have an alternative revolutionary organization that is readily available to them, and that's why we have to build the party there in Congo. And part of what this is all about right now is consolidating. When I say this, I mean Congo, Uhuru Congo YouTube channel helps us to identify and win Africans to participate in putting our own party down on the ground in Congo. Fayulu is running around. He's running around in Congo. He's running around in Europe, making his case as the real winner of the elections that happened. That was given by Kabila's regime to Tshisekedi. And but he is also some kind of deputy. He's in what? Is the parliament? Is that what he's a part of?
Yes, that's right. He's also a national deputy, just like Mende. He's also a national deputy. Mm-hmm. And they say you can't have both. So he has given up the post of deputy. So he's not deputy, so he's just the president-elect.
So he's characterizing himself, right, as president-elect, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. So Kabila had stolen the election and actually took the election and then put Tshisekedi in charge, more or less, as a public face to contribute. This is almost like neo-colonialism, where the neo-colonialist puppet who has become so unpopular, can't represent power in his own face, now gets another puppet that he hopes will be, the people will be able to permit. He recognizes that he is so hated by the masses, he can't do it. So he gets another puppet in the form of Tshisekedi to represent his interests. So now you've got Fayulu, who represents a whole different group of neo-colonial forces, petty bourgeois forces in Congo, who is in the parliament himself, and I'm sure is really upset that he can't be the deputy, be a deputy, parliamentary deputy, at the same time he claims the presidency. So even though Fayulu has won support from certain imperialist powers, there is no certainty that unless things continue to deteriorate politically, that those imperialist powers are going to be willing to hand over power to Fayulu. If the conditions, if Fayulu can keep the masses involved in challenging the regime of Kabila Tshisekedi, then I know there won't be any problem by the bourgeoisie of putting Fayulu in power, but it's not certain yet that that's going to happen, despite the fact that the struggle continues in Congo. So Fayulu now has given up his mandate as a parliamentary deputy in the parliament, and now he considers himself, claims himself to be the president-elect with the assistance of the Catholic Church and other sectors of liberal imperialism. What do you make of this?
Yes, that's from the last point you just made, because you mentioned the Catholic Church, and I think there is a split in the Catholic Church. A sector of the Catholic Church just this week came in recognition of Tshisekedi. They say they know, they got the result, they know he cheated, he is not a president, but because he has been appointed the president, we must admit that he's a president. You know, something like that. So that's like that's the his name is among the things his name is the leader of the Catholic Church. But the Catholic Church leader who retired, Mosengo, said the opposite. So he basically just reiterated that Felix did not win. So you have these two factions basically in the churches. Should they support Fayulu, or should they just settle for Tshisekedi until the next time round? So this is ongoing. And also, Tshisekedi made promises, because for him to be popular, for him to sway people on his side, he has basically to be in charge. But people are coming to the conclusion, a lot of people, that he is not in charge. They look at the symbol. The symbolism is against him. One, if you're a president of Congo, you must live in the presidential place. He's not staying in the presidential place. Kabila has not given him that place. Mm-hmm. He's living where the case of the president are housed. You know, so if you're from Gabon or Cameroon, in fact, they call it the city of OAU. That's where Mobutu fooled our people in the 67, as if it was African nationalist, as at the time they referred to people who stood for African independence. They built that city for OAU, and that's where they housed all the African presidents. So one of the house, I think it's number 41, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's where Felix stayed. And people know that. And two, since Mobutu time, and Kabila continued that, he keeps one plane of the National Air Congo Company as his private property. And from all the reports are saying, even that plane, Kabila did not give it to Felix. So the presidential plane is still in the hands of Kabila. So for the people, that also is another evidence. And the fact that the majority in the parliament is in the hands of, in fact, we're going to come back to the next point, that is not in the hands of Felix Tshisekedi. This is also another problem. And up to now, Felix Tshisekedi made a promise that he's going to free the political prisoners. He said he needs 10 days. From the last show we did, that was 7 days. I'm not sure when exactly he made that promise, but it is a national promise. Everybody knows about it. So I'm going to check when he made it. So between now and next Sunday, it will be more than 10 days for sure. No political prisoner has to be released. And some of them are notorious because they are leaders, national leaders. I take two names like Diomi and Dongala. We don't know where Diomi and Dongala is. Another one is Mwanda Semi. We don't know where he is. We don't even know if Mwanda Semi is alive or not. And no statement has been made if Mwanda Semi is alive or not. And it is unbelievable, you know, the situation of Felix Tshisekedi. And a lot of people saying, you are the president. And in fact, they're calling him Felix Bizumungu. Bizimungu. Bizimungu is named Pastor. Not because he was a pastor, but that was his first name, Pastor. Pastor Bizimungu. He was the president of RPF. You know, Paul Kagame's organization, the Rwanda Patriotic Front. And when Kagame took power, the president was Pastor Bizimungu because he was a Hutu. And Kagame was the Minister of Defense. But in reality, he was the president. And Anthony Bizimungu tried to take some decision with the consentment of Kagame. Kagame will remove him immediately. In fact, jail him, put him in jail. You know, and they call him Felix now, Felix Bizimungu, because the real power is not him, it's Joseph Kabila. So that, you know, in terms of other people, you know, see symbols of power, how they see Felix, they see Kabila like that. But the problem is they have not announced the government of Felix Tshisekedi. Does he have a government? Does he have a prime minister? They have not announced that. And people are trying to see who is going to be the prime minister. But he should not be Kabila. That's what people say. You know, but in any case, it's going to be somebody Kabila is going to choose. And when that happens, and that will add it to the crisis. Because these criticisms being done openly, even the Congo, people saying that openly. So the crisis, you know, the election didn't solve the crisis of neocolonialism. It seems it has opened up more crisis for them, you know, because now it makes it easier. People can see the opposition in the Congo is a neocolonialist opposition. Idiopathic and the Felix Tshisekedi, no difference between him and Joseph Kabila. So he's not going to be there to prevent the masses from going forward. Now it's only Fayou, the new guy, who has, who's making inroads inside the masses, basically, that we need to contend with. But Felix definitely, just like Joseph Kabila, that's the past. You know, that's the past. They're gone.
So,
yes,
can you tell us about the Congolese Common Front? What is the Congolese Common Front, and what's happening with that? I think you just inferred some things, but what is the Congolese? Can you tell us about that?
Yes. This is the history. Laurent Désiré Kabila came to power in 1997 with the RPF, and RPF, that's the Rwanda Patriotic Front from Rwanda, and the Uganda People Defense Force of Museveni. These are the two major powers wiped out in the blackface, you know, in this U.S. project to dislodge Mobutu, who was the president for 32 years. And then they created an organization called AFDEL, an alliance of democratic forces. And this AFDEL is in power for for 2 years, and then Kabila the father disagreed with Museveni and Kagame, and Kagame and Museveni started a new war to dislodge Laurent Desire Kabila. And in that process, they create two organizations, and the most significant for our discussion is known as the RCD, the Rally for Democracy in the Congo, RCD. And in RCD, you have all the people supported by Museveni and supported by Kagame, mostly by Kagame. And then on the side of Laurent Desire Kabila, when he's killed in 2001, they put his son, or alleged son, into power. They created a new organization called the PPRD, the People for for Progress and Democracy, something like that, PPRD. So now between 2001 and 2003, imperialism imposed a peace between factions supported by Kagame and Museveni, and the factions who were not necessarily supported by Kagame, but supported by imperialism under the leadership of Joseph Kabila. So you have two factions. Those supported under the leadership of Joseph Kabila, and then the rest of the imperialists like Belgium and others, and also the factions supported, but still by imperialism, but via Kagame and Museveni with the RCD. So the RCD and the PPRD merged under basically under the name of basically of a PPRD. So you have basically RCD and PPRD becoming one, and the PPRD led Congo under the leadership of Joseph Kabila up to a few months before the current election. That's when they realized they cannot win as a PPRD. They had to create a new organization. And that new organization, they call it the FCC, the Congolese Common Front. It's a common front of Congolese, something like that, I think it should be in English, FCC. And this basically is the PPRD, and all the other opportunities will belong to other small parties around Congo, because PPRD could not win by himself. So all of them came together to build the FCC in opposition to the alliance of Lamuka, led by Fayulu, and another alliance led by Tshisekedi and Kamere, that's Kash. So these three fronts of the African People bourgeoisie, FCC, that's Kabila, Kash, that's Tshisekedi and Kamere, Lamuka, that's Fayulu, and Katumbi and others. They are the ones who dominate the political scene in the Congo. And the FCC basically is mostly led by Kabila, and they stole the election. They claim to have won 335 seats out of 480 seats, which gives them 69% in the parliament. Basically, they are the majority in the parliament, which confirms Felix Tshisekedi cannot rule because he needs the majority in the parliament and does not have that. And the parliament, Tshisekedi has only 32 seats. That's the anomaly. That's the contradiction. How can the people give you the presidential vote and give you only 32 seats out of 485 seats? Not even 10% of seats. That's a joke. And he agreed to a deal like that. And, people really upset with Felix Tshisekedi. I can't tell you their views, the insult, the matches are making, they call him for all kind of names. So FCC is just Kabila's new front. He just changed, they dropped the whole name of PPRD to a new name, FCC, but it's the same Kabila.
So, yeah, that's, it's an extraordinarily unstable situation in Congo. And again, the real missing element is the African people, the workers, having our own party, the African People's Socialist Party on the ground. That's something that we have to take on. And of course, that's the biggest anomaly that we are looking at, that the African working class, the masses of our people, following either one or another faction led by the African petty bourgeoisie, directly and indirectly led by different arms of imperialist white power. I know that there was some stuff that we wanted to get out that's indicative, that shows something about the condition of our people in Congo. The first video we showed on the Congo River with how people are trying to survive, traveling the Congo River and what have you, was a good indication of some things. But I know you wanted to open up this discussion too, looking at the place of African women inside the African petty bourgeoisie. So, can you talk at all about that?
Yes, because we saw this African, the National Day of the Women. We would just wanted to first to show the opportunism of feminism, because the first video we showed, you saw on the boat, women and women side by side, no privacy, no consideration whatsoever for the women there. And then you have the African petit bourgeoisie women associated with Kabila and the rest, who do the shopping in Europe on a regular basis. They have, Mercedes-Benz, all these Ferrari, all these expensive cars that children go to white schools like U.S. schools in the Congo, French schools, or Belgian schools, and things like that. They cannot fight for the African working class because they cannot even fight for themselves, because when you see in the parliament, they are only 10% or just under 11% in the parliament, and these have been even appointed anyway, most of them. So if the African petty bourgeoisie cannot even fight for itself, how can you expect them to fight for the African working class women? That's something the party, we basically were talking of African revolution have to do that. We have to go to the African working class women who have suffered the most, because in these 20 years of colonial, neo-colonial proxy army groups of occupation, you have women buried alive. You've got women, just the most barbaric way of attacking women. That's something they have done in the Congo throughout. And even today, you have all these mass rapes and things like, which are organized by armed groups and working for the multinational companies and things like that. So the critical question here is basically to say that clearly the bourgeois feminism will not save the African women there, or the white feminists, because they go in Congo every year. Angelina Jolie has been there, and the others. That's not the way. The way for African women is going to be to be leaders and shapers of the African revolution in the Congo, so we can begin to win power and engage in a re-education of the entire society on the significance and the role African women should play, and the respect deserved to African women. All these are jobs of the work the revolution needs to do. So we go bring more as the program develops in next week, so we can really highlight the necessity of the African women to join the revolution, and to close the door to bourgeois feminism of any sort in the Congo.
Uhuru. Yeah, I think that's really important, because here in the United States and in Europe, we see regular forays by European or North American women to Congo. These are some kind of feminists. They come sometimes to kidnap our children. They are being, quite beneficial to us, and they're showing, how wonderful they are, because now they've got these objects that they can put on display at their cocktail parties and things like that. This esoteric capture of our children. And I remember the sister, I can't remember her name right now, but she was somebody who confronted Angelique Jolie
Yes, Mama Victoria.
What was her name?
It's Mama Victoria.
Yeah, Mama Victoria. She confronted Angela Jolie, who was preening about in some international conference, showing how wonderful she was for taking our children. And Mama Victoria confronted her, publicly confronted her and what have you, and left her flabbergasted that somebody would even have the temerity, this African woman would have the temerity to intervene. Because I think Angela Jolie was using this as some kind of process of condemning the African men in Congo, something to that effect, but she took it on. And I think that the condition of our women, of the African women, the horrors that African women have to deal with, it cannot be overstated. They cannot be overstated. And the African Revolution has to grow ever more capable of incorporating African women leadership. I think what the African People's Socialist Party has done by example in terms of our structures, where you can see African women leadership throughout our structures, and not as just some symbolic features, but real leadership, and the existence of the African National Women's Organization and its leader being a part of the Central Committee of the African People's Socialist Party is something that contributes to bringing African women into the revolutionary project as colonial subjects, moving away from the feminist assumption that somehow African women have a different future than African men and African people. So I think it's really important to look at that, deal with that, and take the struggle of the oppression of African women out of the hands of the petty bourgeoisie in Africa, among the African nation and the bourgeoisie in general. I would like, Comrade Luwezi, we have about 3 minutes or so. If you would like to go ahead and give us closing statements. I think that we really want to win more African people to unite with this Uhuru Congo, to do whatever is necessary in terms of participating with us on YouTube, spread the word that we are here having this discussion, because while we're talking about Congo now, it's clear that we're going to have to extend this discussion to include much of what's happening in Africa and with Africans. And there's a horrible story that's being told, and horrible narratives being created successfully by the imperialists, because unfortunately we up to now have been successfully inflicted with this false national consciousness, which makes it possible for the imperialists to create situations among African people in one part of the world and it not be recognized as a part of the struggle of African people in other parts of the world, and sometimes in the same neighborhood, sometimes on the same continent, sometimes in the same proximity. So we have to win greater participation with Uhuru Congo, and we have to, we're going to have to move this discussion to include much of what's happening in Africa and among Africans worldwide. So I want to go ahead and turn it over to you to make the closing statements. Comrade Luwezi, go ahead, please. Uhuru.
Yes. Well, Chairman, just 3 things. We're planning this Tuesday, we're having an actual meeting where we're going to see how we're going to promote Uhuru Congo to make sure everybody in our base and the friends, and so we can begin a process where we can announce it in advance so people know to tune in. And the second thing, unite with how we're going to extend the program to include much of the burning issues taking place in Africa, because right now it's imperative that we sum up Central African Republic. So much going on in Central African Republic, so much. You got the US there, you got the French there, you got the Russian there. So it's just overwhelming that Africans are not in tune exactly what's being planned against us. Definitely, it's not done on our behalf. The crisis in the Cameroon, we've seen the pictures. When I saw the first videos, I thought it was in the Congo, but that's what we've seen throughout the Congo for some time. Then I realized they weren't speaking the language I was familiar with. So then I was told it was Cameroon. So we need to sum up the crisis in Cameroon, and that crisis, so-called between Francophone and Anglophone, takes us straight to Nigeria, because the crisis in Nigeria for Boko Haram has spilled over a long time ago in Cameroon too. So in addition to the so-called crisis between Francophone and Anglophone, definitely you have the Boko Haram crisis in Cameroon and beyond, because Niger and other places. And we have, of course, just next to Congo, Rwanda and Burundi. This crisis has been building up for a while, and so we need to pay close attention to that, what's really is happening there. But you don't just have Rwanda and Burundi. You also have Rwanda and Uganda, the two old brothers in arms. Now they seem to have different interests, so we need to look at that. And of course, we can go further, Zimbabwe and so on, where there have been some kind of assault on the people demonstrating against the increase of fuel, and also in Sudan, where mass have been on the street for a while now. And so you have all these reality that Africa needs to be aware and to play some role.
And Algeria.
Definitely. How can I forget Algeria? In Algeria, where the FLN, the historical organization that led the struggle for independence against France, is unable to impose Bouteflika, as a leader for the fifth term and fifth mandate. It's just not going to happen. And Bouteflika is making concessions, saying, just elect me now, and within a year, I will hand over power. People say, no, we don't want to elect you anymore. So this is a serious crisis, and we need definitely, all these, when you combine them, you just underline the sense of urgency that we need to have. And the last thing, basically, we started on a Friday doing the Sphere study, La Guerre des Idées, that's the War of Ideas, organized by Sphere newspaper, in French. So this is a political education in French. We include various articles in newspapers, but particularly the German latest report to the APSP, African People's Socialist Congress, in French. So for people who have French, speak French, they should tune in on Friday, and where we're going to promote also the show for people who speak English. So there's a lot of things basically we need to do. We need to expand so we can definitely capture the time and imagination of African people to build for the African revolution that is overdue. So I just want to appreciate the chairman for being available and leading us in this process and making the show and just the vision available so we can move forward.
Uhuru, I want to thank you, Comrade Luwezi, and just comment on almost everything that you've mentioned here and everything that we've talked about in this study also exposes the existence of a raging class struggle within the struggle for national liberation. And that's what we're looking at. But the FLN was a splendid example of what you're talking about, where we saw the heroism of the people in Algeria who fought the French and who won independence. But it was independence in and of itself is not enough from colonial domination. The question of what that independence is going to look like boils down to what class force is leading the revolutionary struggle that we're involved in. And that's why it's so important to get the African People's Socialist Party down on the ground throughout the African world as the only instrument that the African working class and poor peasantry have access to, could have access to, that can guarantee that we're going to have a decent future beyond simply flag independence. So I want to thank you and invite everybody back to this study, this discussion that we have every Sunday, that's at 11 Eastern Time, and to ask you to share this with all other contacts that you have so that people will know to come on. Let's build the participation for this Uhuru Congo to Africans every place, so that we can also extend this discussion so that we can regularly inform ourselves, educate ourselves about the conditions and struggles of African people throughout the world. So with that, I wanted to say, Uhuru, thank you, Comrade Luwezi, Kinshasa, Secretary General of the African Socialists International. Thank all of you for tuning in to Uhuru Congo YouTube. We'll see you again next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you can make adjustments to wherever it is that you are located in terms of time. Uhuru, is Relate to Africa.